Yeah, please go
Yeah.
ahead. All the best.
Same to you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are live now. Uh, Good afternoon, everyone. So I think people will start joining in. Meanwhile, welcome to everyone today's Progate on air, and welcome to the YouTube channel of Progate today. So I can see a few of you saying hi on the YouTube chat. So let's keep the active communication there. So Progate on air sessions are generally for you all to actually get a knowledge about tech industries, and we conduct this by connecting you with some people from tech industries who are experienced in their own domains. So today we have Vandana Mohture from Australia. So she has joined us with the for the topic today, relation of effective communication with coding. And besides this, she has 10 years of experience in software tech industries, working in various fields. And she's also a mindset coach currently. So she will be here to share about her experience, and let's all of us keep active communication on the chats. Ask any type of question if you want anything related to this topic, and she will be here to answer you all. So I think we can get started. Vandana, would you like to get started? Yeah.
Sure, Ankita. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I'm Vandana Mohture, and I'm a mindset coach, and I'm founder of Mind Art Coaching and Consulting. First of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you, Ankita, and thanks to Progate for giving me this opportunity to connect with you all and to be able to have this conversation with you all. And thank you to all those who are joining in and to all those who will be watching a recording of it. A little bit about me, what Ankita just told. I am a mindset coach currently, but in my past life, as I like to call it, I've been a software professional of 10 years. I studied my engineering from Nagpur University, and then I started working with HSBC. That's what that HSBC Global Technology. That was my first job. I was there for about 4 years in Pune. Then I moved to Infosys. I worked with Fidelity, JPMC, and later I worked with Harley Davidson. So there were a lot of interesting clients, and I worked in India, served in US for 6 years, and then I moved to Australia. After moving to Australia, I worked for a little bit, but then I was very determined that I want to take a different course of action, and I realized that I enjoy communicating with people more, interacting with people more than the software code actually. So I made the move, and I took the step forward of starting on a new journey.
Yep.
But through my experience, I want to share with you all that what worked for me and what did not work for me. And I'll be sharing my stories, my experiences, and this is going to be a more quite of an interactive session where I would really want to understand what is it that you think of, because when I got the job, when I was placed, what I imagined the industry to be like versus what it actually turned out to be was like way different, way different. So our entire conversation will be driven based on what do you think, what are your assumptions. So before we get started, let us know, maybe type in your comments. And Ankita, I'm not able to see the comments in my
Yeah, yeah.
YouTube
I,
chat,
I
so
can see
please do,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
so please do let me know.
Yeah.
So to all our viewers, let us know, where are you in your journey right now? Like, are you students, or are you young professionals? Are you already started working, or maybe you have worked for a few years already? Just let us know, so that I
Uh,
know what our current audience is like.
right. So I think some of them will be they are still joining, people still
Sure,
joining,
sure, that's
and
okay.
they are wishing you like right now they are just introducing themselves. So
Wonderful.
I think we can wait for some time for people to actually answer this question. I think
Sure.
yeah. So we have got questions like students. Students are there mostly in this poll.
Okay.
I'm a student,
Okay.
yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So I'll tell you, so you know what? I'll tell you a little bit of story till the time everyone's answering
Yeah.
the questions. I'll tell you how it was for me when I got placed in HSBC. So,
Right.
Nagpur is not that, it's a two-tier city. And in that time, though, we were lucky enough that we did have campus placements, and there are a lot of tons of engineering colleges in Nagpur. So we did have campus placements, but HSBC was the first MNC that had come in that year, Ankit. And
Okay.
my dream company really was TCS. I
Oh,
really wanted to join because all of my favorite seniors had joined that company, that organization. So I thought I wanted to join, but something happened that year, and TCS decided that they won't entertain our college.
oh,
They invited us for the presentation, and then they asked our college students to leave, and
oh.
I just started crying because it was supposed to be my dream company. I had all like the 5-year plan already that this is what I'll be doing there. Didn't happen. And surprisingly enough, HSBC came in.
Oh,
HSBC did come in, and the interview went well. And I always had this belief. So I'm a computer science engineer, but I always had this belief that I'm not as good a programmer. I'm not as good a developer. Like I relied on my concepts. I was aware that my concepts are good, but I didn't believe in my coding skills. It was some kind of a fear that I developed in my second year,
mhm.
because earlier I had started as an electrical engineer, and then I
Oh,
shifted course in between. And by the time rest of the class was ahead of me, and I was a little behind, and I thought I'm not a good. I mean, I missed on some concepts, and I started believing that I'm not a good developer. So that kind of stayed with me
right.
throughout my engineering. Now, when I got placed, luckily for me, my interview was more about, the concepts. They asked me more about what, the algorithms and stuff, like how would I approach a problem? How would I
Mhm.
solve a problem? And then generally what my attitude about life was, what is it that I want to achieve? How am I viewing the future? So didn't ask for specific coding that time, right? There was no actual coding to be done. I got placed, and I was extremely excited that I got placed.
Yes.
Yet I was a nervous wreck because what I imagined was, what if they place me in a cubicle, like an isolated cubicle, and made me code, like expect me to code something and give it by the end of the day? Like they might just like throw me off the first day. That is how naive I was. I was extremely scared that I don't know how will I be able to get through this. Of course, I'm selected, but what if I'm not able to prove myself?
Right.
That is how I'd imagined. I'm not sure if you got any answers from anyone yet, but let us know, viewers, what is it that you imagine of the software industry that you will be stepping in? Because I believe most of your students. So,
Right.
how do you imagine that world to be? And how was it for you, Ankita?
So
How
yeah,
was it for you?
I was just going to relate it to you because for me also I'm a computer science graduate, and for me also I was more inclined towards communicating with people and solving their questions and answering to them. So I always wanted to help people around me so that they can actually take their steps towards programming, because when I was in college I struggled a lot to learn how to code. So
Mm-hmm.
there was a problem with me that I was not able to find good mentors enough around me, and there were less people to guide me with that, because
Mm-hmm.
I was from not non-computer science backgrounds before college. And you,
Okay.
like most of you can relate it, that most of us take computer science just because our parents say that it has a good scope. And so that was the reason for me as well. I joined computer science, but I actually started getting opportunities myself that I should get into the managerial side, start talking to people, helping them around. So I joined some volunteering organizations where I could teach people around me. And
Mm-hmm.
definitely, I was not looking for a job where I can just go and code all the day long, because I was not a complete programmer kind of person. I had cleared some concepts of programming, but then also I never wanted to do coding in front of a laptop all day long. So that is why I was looking for community management. And in India, you must be knowing that there's not very much scope of community management when it comes to North India. So I
Mm-hmm.
was looking for jobs there, but it was not being valued. So at that point of time, you get confused that is it the right choice you have made, that you don't want to pursue computer science engineering ahead, even though you are a graduate in that. But then with time, I got an opportunity at Progate. So I worked for a company in Indore for 3 months, and was not happy at all, but I was
Mm-hmm.
struggling a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Then Progate came in. I got to know I could relate to the mission of Progate, and that's where my journey started. So I know a lot of
Beautiful.
students who are struggling with a lot of things. I can completely understand that, like they are actually struggling to start their journey ahead. And even if they, like Vandana, in my college, they were my friends who didn't like coding, but they also got selected for Infosys or TCS or Cognizant. And currently they are not happy doing their
Mm,
job. So
mm,
I can relate to that, that yes, I took the right decision that time, that maybe I don't want to get into the coding side. But for the ones who are actually our audience right now and they are actually wanting to code, so I think we have got few questions from them. uh, what is the way to present a solution to the interviewer in tech interviews?
mm.
So that is, I think someone is asking. So
Sure.
what is your take on that?
Sure, sure. We'll take those questions in a bit. And
Yeah.
first of all, Ankita, thank you for sharing your journey with us. I can completely relate to, maybe there are a few people in our audience right now, or maybe, maybe their friends, they'll be able to relate to that. Yes, we all step into computer science engineering and software industry thinking, there's work there, there's a lot of scope because the boom did happen and it's still existing. There's a requirement, like a plethora of jobs, and there's like huge requirement for the understanding of technical skills and then the implementation. But what we all need to understand is it's not just about that. It's not just about that. It in fact, as per one of the LinkedIn surveys of
Mhm.
last year, a technical computer science professional, or say a software professional, or just a software engineer,
Right.
spends not more than 40% of the time in a day in coding. Usually it's around 20 to 30%. That's the only amount of time that you spend in coding, actually, on an average. So there's just so much more that goes on. And in today's environment, and everyone is different. Of course, there are some startup companies, the roles will be a little different here and there, but the way things are moving now, all of us need to be doing all kinds of roles.
Right.
It's
Right.
not going to be just one aspect of it anymore. It's like changing hats. It's able to perform all kinds of roles and display a competency in that. So that's the need of the hour, and that's what we'll be talking about.
Yes.
Now, going back to the question,
Yeah.
what you mentioned,
So
if you can
yeah,
repeat that to me again,
I did.
Ankita.
Yes, yes, sure. What is the best way to present your solution to the interviewer in tech interviews, actually? So I think a
Sure,
lot of students are like they are learning how to code, but the communication is lacking. They don't actually practice how to communicate during interviews. So maybe that's you can answer it
absolutely.
accordingly. Yeah.
So the first essential part of communication, I mean, everybody usually thinks communication is about talking,
Yeah.
right? It is a very important aspect of our communication is how we talk, for sure. But before that, there are two very important things that we need to keep in mind. I'm a mindset coach, so I'm going to first straight go to mindset. It's very important that what is your mindset while you are facing the situation,
Right.
right? So what is, because your communication completely depends upon your mindset. What were you thinking at that time?
Hmm.
What was going on within you? So now in a technical interview, first of all, when you are there, how confident are you feeling already? How are you approaching the interview? Have you already by any chance made a belief that I'm going to go, no, everything is going to go wrong? If all of that is going on in your mind, forget about the solution. You might know the solution, you'll still not be able to talk. So it's very important to first enter from a very warm place, very compassionate place for yourself, to enter the interview itself with a mindset, with a growth mindset again, that I don't know where this is going to go, because no one knows. Do we know that how exactly a situation is going to turn out to be? No, none of us will know. But to be able to say that I'm going to give my best, I'm going to get in there and experience this. This experience is going to help me, whatever be the result. This experience is going to definitely help me, and it's going to be a stepping stone to wherever I land next. So, having that mindset is going to make sure that you show up in your complete authenticity and you let your light shine. I mean, whatever your skills are, you let it shine, because nothing else is clouding you then. So, that's one aspect. You need to be very, very clear on, or like very sure on, and do some work before doing that. Like just calm yourself down before entering an interview. So, your mindset needs to be in place. Now, second, before we start talking, it's very important to understand what is the question, to really understand what the person is asking. We assume things in a certain way. We think that, okay, it's a technical interview, so I need to be using technical jargons, or I need to be using, more of, I need to showcase somehow that I know all the concepts. Is that what the person asked? You, if you are in your mind again, if you're in your head, you would assume it and start it in that way. But very, very deeply, first, when you're listening, listen to understand. Don't think about how you will be understood. First, listen to understand what the question is all about, what the interviewer is trying to ask you. Is he asking you what is going to be your approach, or is he asking you that how are you going to actually solve this problem? What are the exact steps that you will be taking? Did they ask for exact steps, or did they just ask for your approach, or did they ask you for a strategy? Just focus on their words. Now, once you know, always understand that when you are answering, you are not answering to impress someone, you are answering to solve a problem. Yeah, you're answering to solve their problem. So do your best. Even if it's a technical interview, first simplify it for them. Always first answer in simple terms. If, for example, they ask you that we are trying to design a solution for, say, for Progate, that Progate login is, it's taking 5 minutes to log in right now. We want to ensure that it should be faster, for example, if that is the problem. Now, don't suddenly start into what APIs you'll be using, how exactly you'll be proceeding. First, think about, okay, where did I, you start from scratch, start from how did I gather the data? Where did I get the data from? What is the data telling me right now? That's probably where I'll start. So start explaining in as plain terms as you can in the beginning, very simply, and then look at the reaction. Then start approaching on what technology do you think you're going to use? What would be your approach? What is the first, if you have to start coding, what is the first step that you will be doing when you do that? It all comes later, but everything starts with how simply can you put it. What it is said that if you can explain something simply, that means you've really understood it. But if you're trying to impress them, or if you're trying to add too many, um, somehow trying to show that how I can show my technology provis. So that will, that showcases through that interviews are able to see it. Now, having said that, there are different sets of interviews. I have experienced it myself. A lot of interviews in India, especially in India, they somehow want to keep it very technical. And I see a smile on Ankita's face. I think she's experienced it that herself. They want to make it like a lot more technical than whatever it is somehow. And I'm sure it's changing now with time,
Mm.
but at least it was so in the beginning, in the initial years with us as well, that even the interviewers are trying to impress the interview, showing that they know and how they can break the other person. So if you get that, still I would say always begin with putting it simply. And if you're present, if you're really in there and listening to them clearly, you will get the cues of what they like, and then feed it back to them what they would like. If you think that that's what they like to hear more of technical jargons and technical solution, then present that to them. But that's not a must. I personally, the first interview that I got through, they did not want to know of. They actually said it to me that we've seen your performance already in the previous rounds. We know exactly how you are when solve those problems or algorithms and aptitude test and things. So they were very clear. So what they wanted to check was more of the attitude towards it. What
Yeah.
is the approach? What will happen if you get stuck? How will you ask for help? Will you ask for help? So all of those things matter.
Yeah.
I hope I answered your question there.
Yeah, yeah, that's like a wonderful answer, Vandana, because I also feel that it's very important to remain simple during the interviews while you are answering to the questions. Because I feel that when I was in college and I was giving some interviews, there were many different kind of interviewees. Like there were many kind of interviewers who were actually asking me a lot of different questions. So it depends on the interviewer as well, what kind of mindset he has come from. So I think in MNCs right now in India, I can like share it with the audience as well. In MNCs right now, what is happening in India, they are asking for what they are checking actually the attitude of a person, because they have already checked the aptitude and problem solving skills in the written tests. but in the product companies they are more going to the technical side, like
Sure.
checking the technical side and how the people are interacting. So this is the problem, Vandana. Like I can also, like I have a question with from you related
Mhm.
to this. So I can see that when I was in college, there were many students, my friends, my really close friends, who were like very intelligent. They were very good at coding, but they were not involved in any other activities, right? They were not communicating with people. They were just in front of the laptop and coding all the time. So
Mm.
right now I can see that during our interview days, they were like struggling a lot while communicating with the interviewer. And today
Mm.
also I can see them that they are very reserved kind of people. They are
Mm.
not talking to anyone. If we talk to them, they have the capabilities to go into a better company because of their
Mm.
skills, but
Mm.
they are not going because they are
Sure.
hesitant. They are scared. They are scared of stress. They are scared of talking to the interviewer. They're scared that if they get rejected. So what do
Mm.
you think, what is your message for students like them?
Sure. Thank you for the question again. It's a wonderful question, and I believe there's kind of a stigma attached. I mean, things, norms are changing, but there's a kind of a stigma attached to geeks or coders for that matter, software professionals, that they are more of a reserved and introvert kind of people and not as good communicators. That's just a generalization, I would say. Yet there are people, and there's nothing wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong in the kind of behaviors that we have. If someone likes to be reserved, sure, but we always need to be very aware of, is it working for us?
True.
Like, I also personally know of people who are really reserved but extremely good in coding. Like, they're very creative in coding. When it comes to coding, their brain is wired in a different way, it works in a different way, they are able to produce solutions in a different way. And once they were past their fears of communication, once they, and they're still not open and outgoing, and like, they're not into public speaking and things,
Right.
but they're communicating as much as required, as much as least, at least required of them. They are going places.
Yeah.
All that they had to do was really consciously take that effort to do it once, to do
Hmm.
it twice, to keep doing it. It is going to be fearful if you've not done it before. It is fearful,
Yeah.
but where you are, what is that costing you? If it is costing you your job, if you're not really getting placed, then is it serving you? If that behavior is not serving you, then it needs to be changed. And no amount of us talking, anybody else coming and presenting, is going to do the change unless you actually take the steps. So the
True.
steps need to be taken. If you identify, as a friend you identify, if they themselves identify that, I am really good, so somehow I need to be able to showcase this in my interview.
Yeah.
Again, first step is, what have you decided before the interview? If before the interview they have decided that I lack communication skills, this is not going to work out for me, they're going to reject me, that is exactly what you're going to get. If you believe that about yourself, that is what you're going to attract in your life. So always make sure, always work on your beliefs. What do you really think about yourself?
Hmm.
See, sometimes we are afraid, but still we have deep down that belief that, you know what, I think I can make it work. There is
Yes.
something in me that tells me I can make it work. Listen to that voice. Really listen to that voice. And you might not be able to answer in like impeccable English, maybe not. But are you able to communicate? Are you showing the willingness to even, approach it in a certain way, in a positive way, in a way that is going to serve your team? That's what everyone is trying to look at. As like Ankita mentioned, there are MNCs and then there are product oriented companies. No matter whatever company you work in, you will be working in a team. So if you are in a team, you have to be a team player. You have to be, and forget about that. Let's forget about the team also. When you're creating any product, who is it for? Who is it going to be designed for? Who is going to use it? It's people, right? Nobody else but people. So anything that you're going to design is going to be for people, is going to be developed by a person, by a human, and is going to be developed around people. So we cannot be away from effectively communicating. You must make it your priority. If you're not good at it, put efforts, do whatever it needs, whatever you need to take to at least come to a level which starts serving you. If
Hmm.
you just come, and I've seen so many people who just believe, Ankita, they'll believe that they're not good and they're not doing anything about it.
Exactly. That's
Then
the only issue.
if you are not doing anything about it, how in the world do you expect things to magically turn around for you? Like, how will they? What is it that you're changing? If make an effort to talk to one person that you feel comfortable with. Forget, you don't need to talk to 1,000 people. Make an effort to talk to one person. Maybe with that one person you develop that connect. Maybe that one person motivates you a long way.
Right.
And more than that, and I like to give this example with maybe that friend of mine is watching, I'm not sure, but she was like this really introvert person, like really introvert person, and extremely amazing coder,
Wow.
right? But there was this fear of, she was being offered opportunities, she didn't even create a passport, she didn't want to travel on site.
Oh,
She didn't want, but she was getting opportunities because people had already observed her talent, and she was further along. She had started with a startup. Introvert nature did not affect there, but then she entered an MNC, and then things were different. But then, sometimes what happens is we have suppressed certain emotion of ours. If you have suppressed one form of emotion, that shows in your entire life. It doesn't work like, you can suppress one emotion but experience other emotions completely. It doesn't happen.
true.
So you need to, all of you, whoever is watching, need to make sure that you do things that connect you to you. Anything. For some it might be dancing, for some it might be singing, for some it might be coding, for some it might be like just going out for a walk in nature, but whatever it is. So uh, this example of the girl that my friend I was telling you about, we had a cricket tournament. I used to play cricket back then, and we organized this women's cricket tournament for the first time that year. And just because of we knew each other, I quite kept telling her, why don't you play, because I knew that she loves to play. And she gave in. She actually started playing with us, and she started showing up for the practice sessions every day. Suddenly being on the field with so many different people, actually participating, connecting with them, and having that team kind of a bonding with everyone, it just changed the course that she would show up in a team meeting,
Wow.
how she showed up, generally in a team, in the team environment. Every single day she took up, she moved countries.
Wow.
She's currently in the US, like doing extremely well. So all that you need is that one little trigger, one little thing to get past it. It's it feels like it's a big task, really, but it's not. All it takes is little steps broken down.
True.
So you have to somewhere get started doing things that matter to you. And it might be completely unrelated. It might be completely unrelated, but connect to yourself. And if you are connected to yourself, you know that it matters. Communication matters to humans. There is no human who doesn't want to connect with other human. It matters to us. So you will take steps in doing that. And if you are not, then become aware that you don't want to. Don't blame others then. Don't blame the situation. Don't blame the interviewers. Don't blame the companies. Then know that you are the one who doesn't want it. And
True.
maybe you want something else. Then explore that. Yeah.
Right. So yeah,
So
I also feel like good communication actually improves the mindset of a person. Like while they are communicating with more people, they are able to improve the mindset, maybe coming to the from negative mindset, coming back to the positive mindset. So this really improves it. So yeah, that's a really great answer. Thank you.
no
So
problem at all.
yeah, so I think we have a question in the chats that
Mhm.
someone mentioned that he's a dropped out and he is actually wanting to get into the software industry, but because of him, maybe he might have heard somewhere because of the stress in the IT sector, in the IT companies, he's scared to join IT
Okay.
companies. So what do you think? Like, what is your message for him?
Thank you for the question.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing. So, one, Indian IT industry is still looks for it still looks for your certificates to begin with, at least in the campus. I would say that. So I'm not sure if you have already finished your graduation of some sort. You will need to have that some kind of um, completion. Or if you have not completed the engineering degree, that's okay too. What is your backing to showcase that you are a fit in the IT industry? What other courses have you completed? Do you really want to enter the software industry? See, when we start asking questions like it's going to be a stressful environment and everything like that, actually what it tells me, and I'm going to be really frank here, what it tells me is, are you passionate about coding, or are you finding ways of not going in the industry? Yeah, there are two options. Now, if you really like coding, forget the engineering. We all know what our engineering has taught us. Did it really make us, the kind of coders that we are, or did we have to put in the effort? The 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 course is completely different versus what you actually practice and implement. So, if you really like enjoy coding, and if you've done your, due share of maybe your own projects, maybe you've done freelancing, it could be anything. If you really enjoy it, it doesn't matter, you must try it. I would always say, forget about what people say. That's their story. You need to create your own story. What your experience is going to be unique to you. It might be stressful for them because, as Ankita was sharing, also that if they are not confident of their coding skills, it will be stressful for them. Maybe that they all the time keep thinking that they're not good at it. So they are creating the stress for themselves. Or maybe they need to put in more time because they're not able to come up with a solution really quickly. Or maybe they're not able to come up with a solution quickly because they're not communicating properly. Whatever their issue could be, that's the creation, that's the reason the stress is getting created for them. But you need to know what is your why is it that you want to enter the software industry. If you want to enter it purely for the love of it, purely for the love of systems, purely for the love of having probably the server's mindset that you want to serve, with your skills that you have, you want to serve the IT industry, sure, give it a try. Go ahead and always in your resume or in your interviews showcase what you have, what how have you made up for what had happened, and what is it that you can bring forward to them, because all everyone wants to know is, again, what is it that you can, what are the skills that you have to solve their problems, and what is, again, your attitude and approach towards working with a team and serving the company in the long run. So I'd say go ahead and try it.
Yeah.
You'll never find out unless you take that step.
Wow. I think that's a lovely answer, Vandana. Thank you for answering that. I hope, like the person who asked this, you are now motivated enough to get into the field which you actually want to get into. So, yeah, we have like a lot of questions coming in.
That's wonderful to know. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for engaging. I had a whole agenda, but I'm trying to cover all of it through the answers.
If you want, Vandana, you can share one of your instance and then maybe we can take the next question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. So, because I said that, we want to showcase what is the relation of effective communications to coding. So, I just wanted to present to you because I wasn't aware of. So, I wanted to share with you all that how exactly a typical software professional, and especially the one who's starting,
Mhm.
how their typical day looks in a typical company. Of course, there are very specific requirements, and things keep changing all the time in the world. But I'll just explain what it looked like and what it is going to overall look like for you guys when you step in. So I wanted to ask questions, but I know there are already different questions. So I'll assume that you don't know. Maybe it's repetitive for some, but that's okay. So first of all, when you enter, when you start, when you start as a software professional, everyone knows that you have had, your engineering done. You have a certain concepts in place. Few of the companies might have their own trainings which they will train you on. They'll give you specific trainings on what's required for them, which is good, which gives you a view of what's going on in their company, what kind of problems they solve, what kind of roles are expected, what kind of things are expected from you. So that is kind of your onboarding which happens when you're placed in the team. Now once you start that, you might be placed in a project which is starting on a fresh project. That is one aspect. Or you might be put on a project which is already developed. That's another aspect. So not necessarily all the time you're placed on projects like, where you'll know everything from the beginning. There might be people in your team already who have worked on the same project for years, like 20 years and more. I mean, it could be that. So like for me, when I joined, I had joined in a maintenance project. So it was for HSBC's personal internet banking in North America. So the first assignment that we had was, we were actually given the code and we were told how to debug the code, and then we were asked to solve two defects each. Two defects. The new joinees were asked to solve two defects, and they had given us like the simple, the most easiest easy. So they have the segregation of the defects like complex and whatnot. So we were given the most easy defects, but actually going through the code, and debugging the code helped us understand the code better than what we would have understood by just reading the documents. So one thing is what I wanted to highlight here is that become aware of that there are different stages that you might enter into when you get into the project. Number one. Now, that is just a like an overall overarching frame for you. But in a typical life cycle of coding, in a typical life cycle of a project, there are tons of places where communication comes in place, and why you need to be a good communicator and why you need to make communication a priority. As I mentioned earlier, 40 30 to 40% of your day is the only percentage of the time that you'll spend in coding, but rest of it, that means 60 to 70% of your time, you will be actually doing other things. Now, what are these other things that you do? And I didn't know of them. Maybe you already know. I didn't know of them when I started. What you do is, before you actually start coding, because uh, even right now, maybe you're solving problems, like you're taking Progate lessons, and you are actually simultaneously solving some problems or practicing coding. But when you're in a team environment, when you're in serving any creating a product for your customers, you need to be understanding what is it that you want to code, right? So you need to have requirements gathering. There's a big phase of requirement gathering that happens. So there might be another team which has gathered the information, but then they will give it away to you, they will explain it to you. So first of all, communication comes into place there. How you understand it, again, active listening is very, very important. What are you listening? What are you understanding? Are you currently already started thinking of how will I code this? It's not the time there yet. Only and only, again, I'll say that always try to simplify it as much as possible. That what is the customer trying to do? Whoever the customer is, whoever your stakeholders are, they might be an internal team, they might be an external vendor, whoever they are, what is it that they are trying to solve? What is their problem? And that's where you start. The requirement gathering starts from there. There are daily status meetings, tons of status meetings that you attend. The life cycle, the kind of methodologies keep changing. So there was like this waterfall. Currently, there's agile world and Kanban and all that that's been implemented. So there are stand-up meetings. You're supposed to give status updates on what you're doing. So there's communication there. So how you explain in a very stipulated amount of time. You don't get more than 2 or 5 minutes. In a stand-up, typically you don't even get more than 1 minute to explain what is it that you do. And it's clear. Again, communication needs to be crisp and clear. What was expected out of you? How did you approach it? What came in your way? What help are you looking for? These are the things that you need to always pay attention to. Never ever think that you are made to solve all of it by yourself. Always be very vocal in asking for help. Again, in a team environment, it is appreciated. It is acknowledged that you have the guts enough, or you have, that means you feel secured enough to ask for help. Because lot of times people feel that when you're asking for help, that means you are uh, appearing to be weak. That means you're not able to solve the problem. And especially I'm understanding this more and more so with the millennials today, or this the current generation, that there's so much of information available on the internet. How can I not find an answer myself? But no, always it's okay to ask for help, and okay to ask for help specifically, not like a blanket thing like help with everything. So you need to do the requirement gathering, you need to give the status updates. Then once the requirements, you need to put that in documentation, you need to create your stories. Whatever you are going to work on, you should be able to express that, what have you captured based on your meetings. There are MOMs, and things are getting, things are changing. You might not have to do as much of a manual work, but communication is not going anywhere. There will be some form of communication, at least one liner. And like Twitter and like LinkedIn, all of them giving you limitations on writing, it's all the more required that you become very specific and clear in what you're communicating.
Right.
So being able to express that in minimum amount of words, but actually effectively, is very important. So being able to express what the requirements are, or what you understood of the requirements, and then working out with your team internally that if what you understood is right or not. So I hope you're able to see that how much of communication actually goes in right in the very early phase of it, right? So this is just in the beginning. Then once you start understanding the requirements, you're clear on that, you start designing. You don't actually start coding immediately, then you start designing. Now designing also is not alone going to be your work. It again is a team effort. So then you have your team leaders, you have further architects involved, and then you present your solution or they present their solution, you interact. How confident do you feel in contesting what they're suggesting or putting forward what you are thinking? All of that is Again, a lot of times people hold back. They might have better solutions, but they hold back because they don't want to talk in the room, or they don't feel comfortable in presenting. But then that is going to rip you off your opportunity to showcase your skill. So designing happens. Then after designing, actually when you code, there are times when you have to put coding comments. What is the reason that you're defining an API? What is the need of that API if you're coming up with a new API? So there are things that you have to put in code comments. If you're changing some existing code, why you're changing that code, you need to be able to put all of that. Then coding is complete. Once coding is complete, then it goes to the testers, your QA team, and maybe most of us, like we had that. We had to keep changing roles all the time. Sometimes you are just assigned the testing role, and then you need to design the test cases. Now again, designing the test cases means you need to be able to understand the requirement. What is the requirement? What am I supposed to test? How am I going to test it? Then one team is actually testing it, and the other team, or maybe you are the coder who is going to fix the defects. So even after you fix the defects, you need to be able to explain what was the problem, how did you solve the problem. Not maybe all the complete technical details of it, but as simply that anyone who reads through that entry of defect understands what had happened and what was changed, so that they can take it up from there. So that's defect fixing. Then there are peer reviews of your code. You need to do peer reviews. Peer as in your fellow developers, what have they developed, what have you coded. You need to do their reviews, they'll do your reviews. There'll be back and forth of questioning and asking, why was this used, why didn't you try this. So many things that go on. So I, what I'm trying to do by telling you all of this is just this full of communication, and
Communication.
there's nothing else here. And there is coding, of course there is coding, which is a result of how you've communicated. Now after, one might think that finally, after the product is ready, my job's done. Now imagine that you've created this entire product, and it's not all the time that you are going to be the one who's going to actually deploy it. Deployment is like, again, another team, or maybe some of the times it might be your responsibility, but you as a developer will have to give complete instructions of how that package needs to actually go out and how it needs to be deployed. Again, communication comes in there, that what are the instructions that they need to follow to successfully put your code in place. Then there's deployment, then there's support, there's maintenance after that code goes in. Then there is handover. Maintenance means, after post production, like suppose Progate's website went live and something went wrong, who's going to fix it? Of course, people who have worked on it. That happens. Then after maintenance, there's a lot of times you are developing product for some other team, so you develop it and then you hand it over. So when you hand it over, the person who has actually developed it is supposed to give clear, there's a handshake, there's a time where that happens. You're supposed to explain it so that they can take care of what you have developed, your baby. So it's literally all stages. Like you grow a little child. Those are the kind of stages that in a typical life cycle of a coder that you have to go through. Now you might not be involved in all of the stages right away, but eventually in your journey, these are the stages that you will have to encounter. And my only intent of sharing that with you all was to showcase to you that, I mean, by now, I hope all of you understand that communication is the key aspect of it all.
It is really important actually. So I really feel that many students just feel that whenever they are after getting placed, whenever they are going for some IT sector company, they just have to code all day long. So for them, this is like a really good answer to understand that only 40% of the time goes in coding. Otherwise, I think they need to do software engineering before the code designing part, as you mentioned. Then the coding comes in, testing part. So there are a lot of stages, and communication is the key, right?
Mhm.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
that's really good insight, Vandana. So should I take one question from the,
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
so from the chats, Anuj is asking like how to remove nervousness during interview, which affects our communication during interview. I think there are many students who are facing this problem, that while preparing for some interviews, they get nervous.
Mm.
I think you had answered a bit about this, but what is your take on this? Like how they should remove the nervousness, like so that they can effectively concentrate and don't, like, I think, mess up their interviews just because of
Sure.
not being able to communicate properly.
Sure. Thank you for that question. Nervousness.
Yeah.
First of all, I'll say, don't run away from it. It's okay. Of course, you're nervous. I mean, who won't be? We are all nervous. That means it matters to us. If you're not nervous, that means it doesn't matter to us. So, what's important really is to know that we should never pressurize ourselves to get past, like get rid of that nervousness. It's okay. I'll say always start from a place where it's a, of course, I'm feeling nervous. I really want to do well. I really want to, as Ankita said, I don't want to mess it up. Good. Good. Accept that, acknowledge that, fine. But am I, if I continue to think this way, if I'm just, giving all my energy to that emotion, is it really going to help me? That's a conscious question we ask. If we allow ourselves to be, we can surrender to the nervousness. What I'll say is that become aware, which you are, which is very good, that you're becoming nervous. Now, don't try to run away from it. Be okay. Fear is absolutely normal. Fear is, it was designed in us so that we can keep ourselves safe. If we don't feel fearful, we'll not try to, there'll be no fight or flight response. So fear, nervousness is a part of, of the fear response in our body. So it's okay to feel fearful. Now, that is no excuse to not prepare at all, right? uh, Feeling the fear but doing it anyway. There's a this quote, by very famous quote by Susan Jeffers, that feel the fear and do it anyway. So feel the fear. Okay, I'm feeling nervous, that means it's very important for me. What am I doing for it? Because it's important for me, I need to prepare. Have I prepared enough? Enough meaning not what the world wants, what you think you want. Okay, this is what my assumption of the interview is. These are what my strong points are. How will I showcase this to my, through my interview? How do I need to be who I am really in my interview? So you need to become aware of what is it that you are, what is it that you have, what is it that you expect. Again, another one very important aspect that I want to share with you all, which I wasn't aware of initially, but later this happened actually after I moved to Australia, which is in 2019. And in my last interview that I gave, I was very clear on what I am looking at, what I expect, what have I learned about myself. And that actually ended up creating a job opportunity for me, which was not even existing. But they, because there was such a good fit that it happened to be a mix. So become aware of what is it that you want and what is it that you're expecting from yourself, what is it that you can offer. And also, of course, whatever you have covered in your, last year, final year, or whatever, there must be some general guideline on what they're looking for in their employees, through their presentation or whatever. Like, are they looking for specifically, are you being interviewed for Java, are you being interviewed for, whatever is the skill right now? What are they looking for? If you're aware of it, be prepared with that technically. So have your technical skills in place. Now, because we are all computer science engineers, I'll never say that don't have your technical skills in place. That's a given. You need to have, concepts clear. Of course, you need to have a certain level of coding skills in place. It's not that they'll make you sit. Sometimes they do. There are certain companies which actually make you write code as well. And if you don't fit there, then you don't fit. Then don't feel bad about it. There's nothing to feel nervous about it, because it's probably something that you never wanted. Probably that environment would not have been a fit for you. But being able to be aware of and explain it to them that, what is it, how would you approach it? Maybe I'm not able to write the code right now, but this is how I see the problem. So before the interview, if you become very grounded in understanding what you have to offer, what is it that you have that you can bring, whatever it is, it could be your analytical skills, your coding skills, your communication skills, your attitude in general. Some people just work because of their attitude, just that they have this attitude to serve, I'll make it work, I'll make it happen,
Right.
whatever it is. So whatever it is that you have, if you become confident in that, that's all that you need to do. So before the interview, as you step in, I will always say, just ground yourself, remind yourself of why it is important for you, what is the purpose that you're going for, how important this is for you, how you believe in yourself, what is it that you can help them with. And just take, like, really take 3 deep breaths and walk in by saying that I'm just going to enjoy the process. I don't know what happens. Let's go and experience this, because believe me, maybe you get selected or not, but that experience will help you. If you have actually been present in that experience, it's going to help you in the next interview. Not having any interview versus having 10 interviews and going for the 11th one is always going to benefit you. So don't let it work in a way that, oh, that means I am not good. That is not what it is. That means I'm still learning. That means probably match, I'm not the perfect match for them. I am going to be a perfect match for someone else. That means there is something else waiting for me. So you need to look at all of that as again, I'll say a growth mindset, that what can I learn from each of this step, not just about me, also about me, and also about the industry. Because through all of the interviews, you also start learning about the different aspects of the industry. And you might not want to be serving all of them. So then you also get to pick that what is it that you like, and you apply only where you like.
True, true.
Yeah.
Like, wow, like amazing answer. Like, I completely can relate to this because I was the also person who was a bit nervous during my interviews or whenever. So I think it's not just about the interviews. Whenever we are going to start something new, we always feel nervous, and I think
Yes,
it's quite natural with everyone. So you just need to have a good mindset regarding the same, and it will definitely help. So yeah, that's a
absolutely.
lovely answer, Vandana. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
the next question I think we have from Harsh. He's asking, is content writing the part of communication? And if yes, how can I improve in that? I think like you mentioned that on LinkedIn or whenever on the platforms, we have a platform where it is said that we have to write concisely to
Hmm.
actually express ourselves. So
Hmm.
is that a part of communication improvement or something which you can like answer about this?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you for the question, Harsh. Yes, yes. Any form of content creation, any form of content is communication. So when if you're asking me how to get better in content creation, it is very important to know whom are you creating the content for, um, who is your audience. That's number one. Like, and maybe at times we don't know in the beginning. Maybe in the beginning you're just trying to express yourself, and that's okay. If you're writing to express yourself, that's a different kind of, that's kind of, I'll say that's kind of more of like blogging and sharing than creating specific niched content. But as you grow, or as you start observing that what kind of people are responding to your content, who is getting interested, what kind of questions do you have. So the content writing, again, like anything else, should be about solving someone's problem. When you are adding value, what sort of value are you adding, for whom are you adding? Because
Mhm.
if you want to increase the traction, you should be able to solve a specific group's problem through your content.
Yeah.
So the answer, I'll say that, whatever I have observed is, whenever you do add value to someone else's life, that's going to add more ripple effects. So it shouldn't be as much about, I want to share this, this is what I want. It's not about me. It's about who whom you're serving always, whether it is your customers, whether your clients, whether it is your team.
Mhm.
And I'll cover a few points on how your mindset should be as a software professional. But no matter where it is for, it should be serving. It should be about serving others, not about you. So how are you adding value in someone else's life is what will count the most. So create your content in such a way that it's adding value to someone, and that it's easy to grasp. Again, if we make it too complicated, maybe few people might spend time. And earlier days, that used to be the case, that the more complicated it is, that means you're probably a better communicator. If you're using difficult words that nobody understands, that means your vocabulary is so good. It has all become about simplicity now, because as they say, that you don't have more than 2 seconds or 3 seconds to capture someone's attention. So how simply you're putting information together to be consumed. So content should be really easy to consume, broken down into points, so that whoever is reading, they don't have to like really know, implement themselves. So they can read, first of all, what this post is about. For example, if it's a post, first line should always be what this post, like, why should I even read forward through this. So what this post is about, how, then again, what are the points that they can take away, or something that you want to share specifically, in a way that it's to be consumed. So I'll always say that, creating effective content is definitely, it's a part of communication, and it's always should evoke some kind of response from them. There should be a call to action.
Yeah.
If it starts a conversation, it's good content. That means people are engaging, people are reciprocating, they want to know more. And then you, based on their questions, then you also keep getting more and more reasons to create more content. So it should always evoke a response. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Harsh. So yeah, like I really like the answer which you mentioned, that we really need to go ahead and understand what actually people are wanting to hear, not what we want to share. So
Hmm.
that's the actually reality while creating content. So yeah, lovely answer, Vanda. Uh,
Thank you, Ankita.
would you like to share something else regarding the agenda, and then we can take a few questions? I think most of the questions are around that, like students are like right now maybe employed, even though they have graduated some years back, and they now want to switch into software industry. So
Mhm.
what do you think, how good mindset they have, and what scope they have, or maybe how they can achieve it? So what's your take on that? Besides that,
Hmm.
you can also like share about what you actually want to share with everyone about the
Sure.
tips you have for software professionals, aspiring software professionals actually.
Sure, Ankita. And I'm being mindful of time. I know it's already
Yeah,
6:26.
and
I mean,
like
sorry, it's
I no no no, it's completely fine. I just wanted to check with you if you would like to have some water, because it's around.
all good. I have a water bottle, but I'm all good so far.
Yeah.
So yeah, for people who are wanting to get into IT industry, I'll answer your question first.
Mhm.
I will say, and I'll say again this from my own personal experience, you can do whatever you want to do. Even what Ankita shared earlier in her journey, earlier in the session today, she decided what is it, where is it that she wants to go. She took those steps, she went there. So actually, you can decide. Basically, you can become. Today, we are so privileged. I'll say we are this wonderful era that we are living in. We can actually do whatever we want to do.
True.
So we, it all starts with, as Sinek says, it all starts with your why. What is what is the need for you? What is your why? What is it that you want right now? See, for me, I'll say I was always aware that coding is not for me. I was always aware, but I stick to the company. I stick not to the company, but I stick to the industry for 10 years. And I had a reason why. I always had a reason why. So when I started, I was all through, living in Nagpur, and I was staying with my parents. So I really wanted to experience independence. My why was that I want to take up this job right now. I actually thought I want to do my MBA, but then I thought, no, actually, I want to experience independence. I want to take up this job and to know that how I'll be able to take care of myself and be able to take the decision of or going for my MBA at my own cost. That's what my need in my mind was, that maybe I'll spend some time here, gather the amount and then go for my MBA. That's what I'd earlier thought. But I was very clear on my why. So become clear on what your why is. Maybe you have to take that job as a pit stop. Maybe it's not something that you want to do forever. But becoming clear is going to give you that motivation. If there is for someone, if there's no urge or there's no need right away to be earning money or to have that independence, then you can take time and actually decide what calls you, what's really important for you, what kind of work do you see yourself doing for a long time. So start from that. As you know, as again, I'll mention Ankita's example, as she mentioned that she had realized earlier that coding is not for her, but she likes to be in the technical space but in a different capacity. So he started doing volunteer work. So sometimes when we need when you want to put in discover your own passion, and maybe not everyone knows their passion. I didn't know what my passion was back then, and it's okay. Again, I'll always say that it's all okay. You don't need to. If you don't need it right now, if you don't know it right now, just do what you can best do in the given situation. Do, like, apply yourself 100% to what you have in front of you right now. So if you think that a software job is available, or like there are jobs in the market, and you can make yourself fit, and it will make you financially independent, it will give you some time to decide what is it that you want. Just make that your vision and go for it. Just tell yourself that I'll do whatever it takes to do the job. I'll keep applying, even if it is a 10 or 11 or however many times. I'll keep applying, and I'll not make it mean that I am not good. I'll make it mean that I can keep learning from it and I can keep improving. So, if you have not worked on it before, if you want to apply, there are again tons of jobs. Things are changing now. There's a lot of work from home happening. There are a lot of like remote jobs coming up. So, again, through your resume, or again, now there are video resumes also that I'm hearing of. But through your resumes, all that you need to highlight is what did you achieve? How are you capable of solving a problem that they have? what do you think about the company itself? I've always made, like, I always believe that if you've done your research about the company and if you're able to tell them that you really relate to the values of the company, that also means that, they do, everyone wants employees who will be loyal to them, who will align with their way of functioning. So what is it that you like about them? How would you be able to fit in well because you also align with those values? And just keep doing the drill. I'll say keep taking the action. If you're just thinking it, so there's difference between thinking and doing. Nothing will move. Like you have a plate full of food in front of you. If you don't break it and put it in your mouth, you're not going to enjoy the taste. So nothing will happen till you actually take a step. So figure out, and instead of going blank and applying everywhere, again, blanket strategy doesn't work. Just submitting resumes everywhere. Believe me, it doesn't work. Target it. Find something that you really resonate with, why you like to do that, what would you like to do, and maybe you don't know completely, but reading it, does it light you up? Reading the job description, does it make you feel something? If it does, go and apply for it and create specific reason of why you're applying. And when you're applying, I will say, in fact, whenever you're also applying, have an intention in your mind that I'm applying because this job matters to me, because I feel I can serve here, because I will be able to whatever move towards my goals through this job. So have a positive intention when you're applying, not just like, it's not like sweeping the floor. It's not like I'm just applying because what else to do, I'm just doing it because everyone else is doing it. So have that intention and keep at it. Yeah, and the motivation will only come from your purpose. When your why is clear, you will be able to go forward with it. So wish you all the best.
Yeah.
um,
Wow.
um,
So I think that was a very genuine answer because I could relate to it. Like we should always think of what our passion is, and if you're not able to figure it out, then give some time. Because with time, I think you are able to realize what you actually want to go ahead. Like you mentioned that you knew that coding was not which you actually wanted to do for a long period of time, but still you did that for 10 years, and it's a long time actually. So
yeah,
it takes a lot of time sometimes to actually like realize what we are into it, but we need to have patience at the end of the day, and that is like,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. And self awareness. You
self.
need to be in the search of what is it that is, like, I was constantly in search of okay, okay, I don't like this aspect of it, but
Yeah.
this again, and gratitude that this industry has served me. It made me travel across the world, right? I mean, it was only possible because of that. And um, I was very grateful for all the opportunities, for all of my managers, for all of my team members, the kind of things that I learned from them. But if you are in that industry, maybe you start from, as I started as a software engineer, but I was able to move roles, displaying my capabilities. I then understood, people saw it that she's really good in people management. I was offered on site, like right in 1.5 or 2 years of me joining, because they realized that it was about she's able to talk, she's able to hold that conversation, gather the requirements, which is what we need for a person to be on site. That was a different story, I didn't take it up back then. But um, but but being able to see what is it that you want out of the job. If you don't do that analysis, how will someone else do that? So you do what you have in front of you, whatever is required out of you, but also keep asking yourself that what do I want next. And moving to that part, like I moved from engineer from being a software developer to an analyst, software analyst. Then I became a systems analyst. Then I became a business analyst. So I realized, and soon enough people realized, that I was good in conflict management. So I was always put in projects where there were firefighting, like people, clients are mad, and there are like tight guidelines, and then they needed someone to just fuse it
Calm.
off, calm it down. And they're like, okay, so someone to empathize and see, like, what is your problem, how can we help you, we're here to help you, just let us know and we'll figure it out together. We are here, to work together as a team and develop this and do it for our customers or whatever. So if you know what your skills are and you are able to showcase that, you will find the kind of roles that you need, even in the environment that you are, till the time you finally decide to step out and do what it is that you want to do.
True.
So if you don't know then, if you don't know right now, that's okay. Do what you can best do. And always be aware of what is it that you want for yourself, from this job. Because as they say, if you don't create it for you, you'll just follow what life throws at you.
True. That's
Um,
true.
yeah. So that's the only thing that I wanted to add there.
Yeah, nice, nice. Really, a really good answer. I think some students are also thanking you for the answers. They really liked whatever you mentioned and shared about your experience till now. So I think, Vandana, we had a lot of good questions, and maybe towards let's end this
Yes,
session with a good
sure.
note. So, what is your message for them? If you would like to share with everyone, the community members, about anything, you can definitely put this up to
Sure.
them.
Thank you again. Thank you, first of all. Thank you, Ankita, for your interaction. And thank you to our beautiful audience. Guys, you were so engaging, and I love the questions that you asked. And based on your question asking skills here, I would say that you are good communicators. Keep it up. Keep working on that because, the way you ask the questions, it serves the entire community. It is serving everyone. So always never, never be scared of asking questions. So well done. What I'd like to wrap up with this session is with just 5 tips that you need to know to become good communicators or to actually excel in your career. Now that you're just starting, just always remember number one, communication is more about listening. So work on active listening. Try at times to not try to talk, but to listen. Seek to understand what other person, your team manager, your client, your friend, what are they wanting from you, and then after you're done listening, then come up with answer. And when you are listening, in your mind, don't keep thinking of what I want to tell. When you're listening, just listen. Forget it. Your body will tell you what to tell when it's your turn. So start with active listening. Second is empathy. I know it's a ever repeated term, but it's very important to empathize. By empathize, I mean understanding where the other person is coming from. It's very important to understand. We all have our own perspectives. Understand everybody is unique. We all have our own perspectives. We look at the world in our own way, but when somebody is explaining it to you, don't think it from your own way. Try to understand where from they're coming, because when you understand where they're coming from, then you're able to better solve their problem. So you're doing it ultimately to solve their problem. And when you help anyone in solving their problem, you realize that you are only moving towards growth. So become empathetic. Third is, I'll say that get out of the mindset of saying that this is not my job. A lot of times, especially as coders, we think that just coding is going to be my job. Oh, it's boring to write the comments, or it's boring to do this defect management and things like that. It's not my job. A lot of times we fall prey to that syndrome. And I'll say that the mindset that we start approaching a job is determines the quality of that product. So if you get into the mindset of saying this is not my job, then the quality of work that you'll do will also be similar. So don't you ever say that. Don't get into that. Again, seek to understand why is it required of you. And even if it is something that you don't really feel very happy or excited about, that's okay. Understand why it's required of you and do it for the sake of it, for the again, for serving the entire team and for moving forward in your career, just to showcase that attitude that you can also do the job that you're not really passionate about, which is a good attitude. Fourth point I'll say is that know that when you help your team manager or your leader look good, you're automatically you're making yourself look good. A lot of times we feel that mm, I'm not getting my due credit. I'm not getting credit for the work that I do. People are not acknowledging me. Nobody's able to see us. I mean, as Ankita had mentioned earlier, a lot of people sometimes feel that we're introverts, so our work is not getting noticed. And there are a lot of negative emotions that we, harbor in our minds or in our heart, that nobody's valuing my work. It's not so. It's not so. And believe that if you do your work well, I won't say that you don't have to highlight or you don't have to showcase that. You do have to, and you must whenever there is a need to. But if you're doing your work right, and if it is serving your team manager, if you're team leader, or you're just an immediate person, if they are looking good, you're automatically getting the due credit. You are also looking good. So don't you ever feel that I need to shine. If your team is shining, your work, your devotion towards the team is taken into consideration. um, Fifth point, don't feel don't ever feel scared to ask for help or ask questions. As I started earlier, always be clear. Uh, Whenever you hear something, always ask if what you have understood is right or not before assuming that this is how it is. Always explain what you have understood so that the other person can confirm it. Always feel very open and free to ask questions, because the more questions you ask, other person feels that you have interest in it. First of all, that you are really interested in knowing, or you're interested in knowing better. Don't ask for the heck of it. Ask because it matters. So ask questions, and also ask for help if ever you are stuck. There is no weakness in asking for help. Actually, there is strength in asking for help. So ask for help, and also help when someone asks you for help. That's on that note, I'd like to close this session, and I hope that you found value in this.
Wow.
uh,
Amazing, Vandana. So, like, I really think that for the students who are going to be engineers in the coming few years, or maybe like in 1 or 2 years, for them, this kind of session was very important. And I would really like to thank you for taking out some time. I know there's a time difference between Australia and India, but still, you took some time out for our community members and did this session today, answered their questions, queries, and motivated them actually to actually get into their field, whatever they want to pursue in future. So that's really helpful. I really hope that most of you, the viewers, or maybe the people who will be watching this video, they will take something back from Vandana's experience, and will be going to implement that in their particular future placements, or maybe jobs, interviews, or anything in your life. So I think the most of the time we have focused on keeping the positive mindset during anything, towards every approach of your life. So yeah, that was a really wonderful insight, Vandana. Thank you so much again for coming with live with us today on Sunday. And we would like to stay connected with you for a longer term. Thank you everyone for joining in, and thank you so much, Vandana, once again.
Absolutely. The pleasure was all mine. And all of you, please feel free to get in touch if there's any way I can help you.
Yeah,
And
I
I
think,
wish you all the best.
yeah, Vanna, if you would like to connect with them, maybe you can also share your LinkedIn with them on the
Sure.
chats, and most of them can connect with you over there.
Absolutely. I'll do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much. Goodbye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye bye.
Okay, so I have ended the stream.